Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's SharePoint TV show, where we're going to talk mostly about Yammer, as well as, of course, all of the updates in the Microsoft ecosystem. Today, we have two amazing guests, one of them from Microsoft, one of them from the MVP community, which we're going to introduce in just a few minutes. As something to remember for those of you that it might be the first time on this show. SharePoint TV is really meant to be super casual, and our goal for each show is to answer any questions that you might have. So please use the chat on the right side of your screen, ask all of the questions you might have, and I will ask them to our two experts. Before we start, let's take a look at a quick promo video from our sponsor, Valo Intranet. Welcome back, everybody. And now let's introduce our two guests. I'm really happy to be joined today by Martina Grom and Michael Holste. How are you doing, Martina?
Hey, welcome. It's evening now here in Vienna, and I'm happy to be here and talk with you guys about Yammer and the Year of Yammer.
And I think where's Michael? How are you doing, Michael, as well?
Hey there, Vlad. I am doing great. I'm here at Microsoft headquarters in Building 3 in Redmond, Washington, and very excited to join Martina and Vlad. Exciting news in the Yammer world and two very esteemed MVPs in the Microsoft community, and very much looking forward to this chat.
Martina already mentioned the Year of Yammer, and I think you two have matching T-shirts to show it off, right?
Absolutely. The Year of Yammer is very much underway. We announced it at Microsoft Ignite here in November down in Orlando. And all of this year, you'll continue to see just a ton of news coming out for Yammer, from its own news, its own redesign, and then, of course, how it's going to continue being built further into Microsoft 365. But the Year of Yammer is something you'll see all over social media. And if you see me out and about at different Microsoft events, grab my attention, and I might have a T-shirt for you too.
That answers the first questions for you, Jeff. So find Holste, and he'll give you a T-shirt. That's the trick to get one of those T-shirts. I don't even have one myself. I actually tried to join both of you, but I was like, I'm not going to discriminate, so I'll just put my T-shirt with all of the icons on it. This way, I'm allowed to talk and promote everything I can today. But you mentioned the Year of Yammer. What is what's the big goal? Where the idea of the Year of Yammer came from?
Yeah, so when we talk about the Year of Yammer, and we've gotten a number of questions about this, we're actually talking about a couple different things. For the last few years, Yammer has been being worked on to build it closer into the rest of the suite and deliver on some of the promises that Microsoft had made when Yammer was acquired. In doing so, it meant that a lot of our engineering resources and our design resources went into building features that made it compatible with the other Microsoft 365 apps. And it meant that we didn't have a ton of news to share for customers about their user voice requests and so forth. The Year of Yammer was a way to kind of re-spark the community and win back that trust that we are actively working on Yammer, and we are building it into a very powerful very awesome service for everyone. And we actually held back some of those features because we knew we were going to have this big Yammer refresh, this redesign, or as we're calling it, the new Yammer. In doing so, we wanted to make sure that that we got folks' attention, and we were going to say, hey, this isn't just one announcement. This is an entire shift of what Yammer is as a product. So when we think of the new Yammer, it really kind of comes down to two parts. The first part is all of the new features and capabilities, including the redesign. So an entirely rebuilt product on Fabric UI. It's exciting that Yammer is actually Microsoft's first fully fluent, using the Fluent UI or Fabric UI design principles. We're Microsoft's first fully fluent app for both web and mobile in Microsoft history. So part of the Year of Yammer is that new Yammer, the new look and the new feel, along with all of these user voice requests and all of these new features. The other side of the Year of Yammer, the new Yammer announcement, is its integrations into the rest of the Microsoft 365 apps. Because it's built with Fabric UI, it's crazy easy for us now to build it into Outlook, to build it into SharePoint, to build it into Microsoft Teams, and extend the power of the Yammer social conversations and its social community platform into the other apps where folks are spending their time. We can talk about that, and I'll show you a little bit more in the future.
Yeah, we have a demo coming up, but I think one of the other things that changed, at least got announced, is in a way repositioning Yammer to focus not on all social, kind of focusing it only on kind of the leadership connection, big community. So that was a big change as well, kind of refocusing only on certain types of communication. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yammer has always been able to do collaboration, but we've learned and we've continued to build other products that also are excellent in the collaboration space. So with that in mind, we kind of sharpened our pencils on what Yammer's superpowers were. And that's really driving big communities, driving knowledge capturing and knowledge sharing, and driving organizational wide engagement. So we've doubled down on those features and then extended the power of Yammer into our other collaboration apps, i.e. SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and Outlook. And with that lens, we're really our four core scenarios that we're going to continue investing in, that we're going to bring all these great new features to, really focus around leadership engagement, how the C-suite connects with their workforce and motivates and aligns their workforce, both downwards, so kind of not command and control, but sharing their vision down through the organization, but then also bubbling up great feedback and great ideas so that the leaders know what's on top of people's minds. And the other areas are company-wide communication, so live events, how people across different orgs and across different silos connect and engage with each other, even if they might not particularly know each other, how knowledge is captured and shared, so exposing some of that tacit and latent knowledge that exists within employees' heads, getting that information out there in a discoverable and a structured way. And then lastly, of course, winning over that employee experience, making it that people love their jobs and they have a place where they can go and talk about all aspects of their jobs, not just their day-to-day A to B tasks.
Awesome. Now let me actually go to Martina. Now that we've seen kind of what the vision is from Microsoft, Martina, when I'm sure you have a bunch of customers using Yammer, kind of when you talk to them, how do you position Yammer, or what do they want Yammer to solve inside of the organization?
So most of my customers already used Yammer before Teams came into the Microsoft 365 universe. So I got a lot of questions in the beginning, so that they said, okay, now there is Microsoft Teams. Should we move from Yammer to Teams? But it's very clear for most of my customers that they use Yammer as an organizational-wide communication tool. They use it for information sharing, information management, and also we have a couple of CIOs who really love Yammer to make announcements which are org-wide, where they can use them and can communicate to the whole organization. So it was kind of Yammer is still our universe if you are a larger organization, and for Microsoft Teams, in our neighborhood, we use Microsoft Teams and do teamwork within there. And many of my customers are now also very excited about the new Yammer because they see there is a new modern design. They will use it within Outlook, they can use it within Teams and so on. And so they really love the new features which are coming up. And the last point here is, as I also have a couple of customers in Europe, some of the customers move their Yammer network to Europe as well to have it in a safe place and to work from Europe and have everything in there.
I think the NA data centers are also safe, but gotta love that GDPR, right?
Yeah, it's always a discussion, and it's from a compliance perspective, it's completely safe to keep Yammer where it is, but there are some customers who have very special compliance needs and requirements, and they just feel better if they can move their instance to the European data centers.
Yeah, I fully and that is funny because as I was working mostly with only North American clients before, I was not really touched by any of the GDPR stuff. Most of my clients were local in North America, and I know if your clients, visitors, GDPR still applies. But now that I work for a European company, I'm really at the center of all of this fun compliance stuff, and it's crazy how complicated it can be.
Yeah, it can be complicated. On the other side, Yammer is fully compliant and GDPR compliant as well, even if it's hosted in the US data center. But the customer needs to understand the full impact, what happens if they have it here or there and so on. And in the past, it really helped my customers that we got the connection between Yammer groups and Office 365 groups. So my customers started to share their files in the Office 365 connected Yammer group, and it was on SharePoint in their data center region, and they also loved that as well.
And actually, Michael, maybe you said you have a few demos for us. Let's get the screen sharing going. And while we get going with that, I actually have a really good question for the chat. A lot of what was mentioned so far was that unified way of working and also how Yammer integrates with Microsoft Teams and Outlook in the new Yammer. And I guess Michael will show that us in a few seconds. But a question that I have for the chat is, right now you can only have in an Office 365 group, it's either Yammer enabled or it's Teams enabled. You cannot have in the same group both Yammer and Teams. Are we going to get that in the future? Do you think that's something that is needed, or will that actually cause more confusion to people and when to use what?
I could definitely see that bringing a little bit more confusion to customers, especially for end users who might now see these links to their other collaboration spaces and could get themselves lost on orientation. Right now, we're doubling down on a way to ensure that all Yammer communities are Office 365 connected communities, so you still get all of the benefits of being tied to that Office 365 group, having a SharePoint site, having a shared OneNote for all your community members as well. There isn't anything at this moment on our roadmap about connecting both Yammer and Teams to the same Office 365 group out of the box, but we are working on a couple ways to make it easier to use Yammer and Microsoft Teams better together and to help make it easier for your users. And with that in mind, actually, let me jump over into a screen share I have about the new Yammer app for Microsoft Teams. And just want to ensure that you can see my screen.
Yes, we
looks
can.
Great.
Yeah.
Looks great. So here we are. I'm in Microsoft Teams, and I'm in the browser here because I wouldn't be able to do this in my Teams. I'm actually in a demo tenant, but here I signed into this demo tenant. I'm using Microsoft Teams app for the browser. It works just as I would expect Microsoft Teams to. But as you can see, I am looking at Yammer. So by pinning the new Yammer app to the left rail, which can be done at the admin level, I can browse, search, participate, and engage with all of my Yammer communities without leaving Microsoft Teams. So for end users, I really think this helps kind of clarify the story of which tool to use when. I can use my Teams app for chats, for meetings, for my collaboration work with a lot of the people that I know and work with on a day-to-day basis. And then when I see either a notification come through, which is a future workload that we're working on, or when I want to jump back into Yammer to participate in those wider organization-wide conversations, watch live events that are happening across my company, engage with some of my communities of interest or communities of practice that aren't those huddle-up focus works, I can jump right over into my Yammer app and see what's happening across my organization. And I can play videos, I can participate in conversations, I can mention users, I can engage with posts, I can attach files. I have this new recommended file selection from the new modern publisher. And here I'm in the new Yammer just within
Sorry to
Microsoft
interrupt
Teams.
you, Michael, but since you're showing files, that kind of brings me to a question from the chat. Are we still going to have, in a way, native Yammer groups that only exist in Yammer with their own file storage in Yammer, or everything is going to go to unified groups, so files in SharePoint?
Our recommended path forward is that all Yammer groups become Yammer Office 365 connected communities. And one thing I'd like to call out on that note is that we are renaming Yammer groups to Yammer communities. So we'll have those legacy groups in the interim, and there's some things that aren't immediately on our timeline to turn into connected communities. Things like external groups will still in the near term be legacy or original Yammer groups. But going forward, we think our best use case and our best case scenario is to have everything be connected.
Okay, so the recommendation is always use is the official term going to be connected communities, or what's the official term that we should use for that?
Yeah, Office 365 connected communities.
Okay, so from now on, the recommendation is to go with Office 365 connected communities, but the normal Yammer communities will still be available from a technical point of view if somebody wants to do one.
In the near term, yes. Actually, tomorrow morning, and I will let the cat out of the bag just a little bit early for SharePoint TV. This is a special announcement. Tomorrow morning, we will be publicly announcing native mode for Yammer, as well as e-discovery for Yammer. And native mode will allow admins to set controls to enforce Office 365 group creation and Office 365 group creation policy, which can ensure that all communities in Yammer are created as Yammer connected communities.
Awesome. So exactly for what they're talking in the chat, we're going to be able to block it for now, kind of opt out in a way of having them, and then make sure that users, without any IT guidance, they always go the recommended way.
Yep, and that will ensure that your files are by default stored in SharePoint, and of course also adhere to your existing SharePoint policies that your admins have set.
That is awesome, and I see people in the chat are pretty happy about it, including the new buzzword Office 365 connected communities.
A little bit of a mouthful, but definitely worth it.
Awesome. I'll let you go on. Just wanted to get that question from the chat since we're talking about files.
Yeah, you bet. So again, here we are in the new Yammer app for Teams. This will be coming later this quarter. It was announced at Microsoft Ignite in November. It is a fully functional Yammer app, just lives and can be pinned natively within Microsoft Teams. And we can see all types of usage scenarios for this. One of the things I'm most excited about is if you're rolling out Microsoft Teams or you're rolling out Yammer, you can now marry that experience. And by hosting live events in Yammer at an organization-wide level, you could get all of your employees connected and comfortable with the Yammer UI, but then also encouraging them to consume and watch and participate in these videos within Teams. And it helps kind of shatter that glass of which tool is for what. You could do it all in Teams using the Yammer app.
Awesome.
Do we have any questions from the chat? while we're scrolling through here, I think there's a couple other cool UI things I'd like to call out in the new Yammer that if you missed our announcements before, we do have this new question and answer treatment. You can pin best answers. Admins can close conversations. One of my favorite new features is the ability to now pin announcements or pin any conversation if you're a community admin. Again, for those big corporate communication scenarios where we need to ensure that everyone is seeing this message or that these messages have a little bit longer lifespan, we can anchor these to the top of that feed. Then we also get this scene count to ensure that the right folks are seeing our messages.
The scene count is pretty awesome, and I guess whether people see it from Outlook, from Teams, all of that will be connected because of the way that the new Fluid framework works, right? It's all in a nice embed from wherever you look at it at.
Absolutely. I think that one of our key scenarios here is encouraging whether you are a corporate communicator or a community owner of any community across your organization, by starting an announcement in Yammer. Now you could see how folks could get access to it within Teams, but another new integration that we've announced is this Outlook integration. So here I am in the Outlook web app. I can see this announcement come through, and previously in Yammer, you would just get in the window pane a kind of cryptic message saying something along the lines of Alex made an announcement in the Leadership Connection community, for instance. Now you get a fully interactive embedded email pane, and when I scroll down in here, I can like and engage with this post directly from email. So if you're a zero inbox person like myself, I don't have to continue toggling apps back and forth or clicking and disorienting myself from my normal workflow. I can go right in here and provide feedback. I can comment, I can share GIFs, I can even attach files right from my email pane. And this will be coming to Outlook client as well later this year.
Hey, Michael, for a zero inbox person, you need to talk to the people that do the demo tenants. 250, 200 messages. You got to work on that.
I'm chalking that up to people using Yammer a lot.
So we talked about Teams, we talked about Outlook. What about SharePoint? And we actually have a question in the chat here. Linda plans to be showing Yammer content through webparks on SharePoint Online sites, and you've showed Yammer in Teams and Outlook. Will we have the same exact experience in SharePoint? Are we going to get an update to the existing webparks there, or is that remaining the same one that we have now?
You bet. Because of the new Fluent UI, it is easy for us to make these type of updates. And later this quarter, around the same time that the first customers are beginning to get access to the new Yammer, you'll also see this UI with these modern treatments and the new publisher all coming to SharePoint with the new SharePoint Conversations web part. So here I am on a SharePoint's communication site. As I scroll down here, I can see my web part going down the left rail. It looks just as it did in my email, and just as it did in the Teams app, and just as it would within the Yammer web browser. As I go down, I can like these posts, I can engage with them. When I click in, and I'm going to keep almost repeating myself to the point where it's going to get old. As I click down, I see these same suggested files, and these are pulling from Microsoft Graph, just as SharePoint would, and just as OneDrive would, and the other apps that you're used to using across the suite. I can attach GIFs. I get this same modern publisher, all these same features on my intelligent intranet.
Awesome. I hope that answers your question, Linda. Something else that I think is new is the actually another question. You can also easily create, I guess, new Yammer conversations. So just basically, I think if you go to the top, you have a new from SharePoint directly to create a new one.
Yeah, as long as you're at the top of the web part, you can post directly to this community, and you'll see it come through both within Yammer and then, of course, reappear on your SharePoint Conversations web part.
Awesome. Now, Martina, back to you. Since you have a lot of experience actually integrating this at customers, how do you think with all of those new changes, what change do you think it will bring in how people consume Yammer content and create Yammer content as well?
So what I think with the new Yammer, it will get a lot more users who enjoy, for instance, so what I love is the Outlook integration, because there are still a lot of people who work within Outlook and who really like and enjoy that they simply go there, like a chat, answer to a chat, and get instant feedback back to that. And also what I think that the whole integration story within Microsoft Teams, within SharePoint, and within Outlook, it doesn't depend where you work. You get all the information you need at the right time. And this is also something what I really like here, that we can use that information and just integrate it. I have a couple of customers who built in the Yammer web parts in their SharePoint sites, because it brings the social part into their SharePoint intranets and all the likes and the communications. But as well, some of my customers are on Microsoft Teams, and they are small groups, and they still want to know what is going on with the Yammer and with the integration there. They have also the view to the Yammer discussions which are going on in the whole organization. So I think there's something here for everyone, and a lot of discussions I currently have is around live events, because this is in high demand with many customers, because people want to talk, people want to share news. We are going in open organizations. Organizations just want to communicate in video and bring feedback back and forth through that. And they also like the integration, because they said we have now an organizational-wide communication tool where we can bring this part of our organization or this part of our communication back to our end users.
You brought something new here, live events. Do you want to maybe just quickly explain, maybe for people that don't know what they are, kind of what are live events and what is the goal of live events? Kind of what do they have extra versus just doing a Teams meeting with the whole company?
So what you can do in a live event is you can, for instance, have a weekly, a monthly CIO talk, which is recorded, where people can join, ask questions, get their answers. And after the talk, everything goes into Microsoft 365 and stream. People can join or watch the recorded video later. They can ask questions instantly. They can like it, you have a transcript and so on. And the best part around live events, you can schedule them on a regular basis and use them on a very broad level as well. That's it.
Okay, so in a way, it's kind of, oh, sorry, Michael.
Yeah, I was to add to that, and I think that's a wonderful description of what we offer for live events. At Microsoft, we're using it in a couple cool ways. When we're having internal events, we have our monthly CEO Connection town halls, and that is every month. Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, and his C-suite, his leadership team, host a live event that is a company-wide meeting, essentially, to address what's top of mind, to field questions, to share sales metrics and numbers and goals for the upcoming year, and also just address some of the social concerns that are happening to help ensure that the company is going in the direction that its employees are all hoping it goes into. At an organization level, we use oftentimes stream and embed that within a SharePoint web part at, for instance, our marketing organization level, so that anyone in our marketing org can go and watch these live events and engage with it at their common SharePoint destination. It's where we keep all of our marketing resources, our quick links, everything that our calendar, everything we need to know if we're in the marketing org. And we can go and watch this called MCB Radio. And it's a very special session, and it has a great stickiness to these events. And then the last piece of it, I'll give a call out to this later on, but we have a Meet the New Yammer webinar. And for some of these external customer webinars, we use Teams live events. And again, we get all these great features, and we can have external attendees as well. So of course, Stream and Yammer are for inside the organization, but we actually have a solution within the live events world for external webinars and moments that we want to bring attention to. And we have some news about how easy these can be to schedule that we'll have coming out pretty soon.
Okay, so let me just repeat that so I understand. So there's actually not only one live event. You actually have two sorts of live events inside the Microsoft 365. You have Yammer live events, which are for internal comms only, and then Teams live events, which can in a way also be I'll call it a webinar platform. So you can, of course, have both internal attendees, but you can also invite external people as well in the Teams live events.
Great. Yep. And there's actually a third one for organizations that aren't yet using Yammer, though hopefully you will be soon. You can actually do live events in Stream as well. So they can be uploaded directly to your Stream channel. You can bring that into SharePoint if you're using SharePoint and Stream, but haven't unrolled Yammer for your org yet.
Okay. Now I'll just ask Martina. Do people find it confusing now that we have three sorts of live events? How what is kind of our customers started to use it? I know it's pretty new, but kind of is this kind of where to start it? It depends on what you can do, confusing versus having one sort of live event for everything?
Actually, my customers, so what I would recommend to everyone who starts with live event is to go through a dry run before you do your first live event, so that people get used to the handling and how it works, how the mic works, and so on. So kind of a tech check. But I didn't see a lot of confusion among my customers. What I see is a lot of excitement. So when we use, for instance, with our customers live events for internal webinars, we very often have questions from the user that they say, oh, that's awesome. How can I do that for myself? Because I have a lot of use cases for doing live events by myself. And can you show me how to do that? And this is also something what people really love. The fun part here is that also my customers like the transcription part, so that they get, after the recording, it gets to Stream, it gets a transcription view. They also like that. If you have a mixed conversation between different languages, for instance, Germany, French, and English, the transcripts might get sometimes very funny. But people really like it because it's a good functionality at all. And also when you have a transcript in a foreign language, you might not get the proper grammar, but you still get the meaning what the presenter is saying. So it's very useful to have it that way.
And I fully understand. And by the way, Lyman, do you think you can reshare Michael's screen? He has something to show us again. But also, while that is done, Martina, I fully get you. Let's be honest. My name is Vlad Catrinescu. Learned English in Romania. So sometimes when you look at the live transcript of things, it can get pretty funny. Yeah. What I actually said and what it thinks I said. So it can be really funny sometimes. But I think, Michael, you wanted to show us something. I see you're playing with some live events here live.
Yeah. So here I am talking about a new live event capability that we previously announced and will be rolling out in the very near term. I won't give you an exact date.
Another secret announcement.
Ooh, this is the first time I keep trying to push Microsoft people to release stuff in the SharePoint TV. Finally got my first one after a few months.
It's the Year of Yammer. We have a lot to announce this year.
We love you for that, Michael, by the way. Don't stop. Keep showing us everything.
So this UI, this is a new way to host live events. And as you can see, I'm choosing Microsoft Teams on the back end, though I'm still making this a Yammer live event. So before you needed a third-party service or an encoding tool like OBS, now I can actually use Teams on the back end and share this live event right from my webcam and share my own screen I queue this up on the back end. I send it live. Once I see there's a slight lag so the producer can understand what's happening live, I then can start the event, and I can host an entire live event in Yammer that brings all the Yammer goodness and conversations, Q&A, transcripting. I get all of those features, and I can host this live event as an army of one. I don't need a production team. I don't need to pay for third-party services. Of course, I can still have that high level of production value if I'd like. If I want camera switching, and if I want dedicated people as presenters and a dedicated team as producers. But if I just want to do a run it myself webinar, I can now use Teams on the back end and still have Yammer as the front end for attendees. Which takes us to one more announcement that we wanted to show is the ability to now upload mobile videos from your device directly into your Yammer community. And we see all types of scenarios for customers for this. We've heard from a number of our customers that their leadership teams want to engage in an authentic, really personable way without all of the overhead of necessarily creating a live event and going and sharing the attendee links and getting an event team and having this big to-do about it. They really just want to be able to share in the moment, whether it's for training, whether it's to welcome new employees or new members, to share an experience, to show that something is done right, or that shows something that maybe has been done incorrectly. And this will be coming to Yammer in the next couple months. Again, we announced it in November. We're working towards bringing it GA. Follow our blog. We'll have more about it. But essentially, from either Android or the iOS mobile app, you'll be able to share a video directly from the UI. It uses Flipgrid integration so that you can trim and add effects and add features and make your video fun, and then share it directly into the community.
Can I also add filters like on Instagram?
So you can add some filters and you can add some fun effects. I think we'll be adding to what that library looks like.
Okay.
And I've played around with it. I haven't done too much with adding like vignettes and those type of features. I tend to go black and white and make all my videos look dramatic.
Okay. And I think
can I add something to that? I already have a customer who's waiting for that functionality, because they want to use that for caring for animals in animal parks. So, for instance, if they see an animal which is hurt or ill or something, they can grab a doctor on video and chat about the function, how they can care about the animal and stuff like that. So it's a really good use case to have that functionality as well.
Great. Yeah,
awesome.
That is directly in line with, we can see almost an infinite amount of people using this in interesting ways, and we're excited to see kind of the ideas that customers come up with.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of super cool social feed on the intranet, having that kind of the user contributions embedded on the homepage of the intranet with a new web part, always having new content from the company and things like that, and a lot easier to create that content directly from the app as well.
You bet.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, one of the cool things in this demo, we're not going to be able to show the sound, but it was also the background noise removal, right?
That is with videos with Stream,
Okay.
and I think that we're hoping, since it's part of the Microsoft 365 suite, hoping to bring that through all of our video communications, no matter the app. But I believe that will land with Stream first, and then we'll continue to investigate how we can bring that across the suite.
Okay, I don't know why. Maybe when I looked at the picture, that's what I remembered. Because I know the demo they showed at Ignite was like a construction in the background.
Our stock photos have sold us out.
Yes, busted. Two questions from the chat here. First one, let's say we have a live event, somebody cannot attend, and during the live event, we already talked about the live closed captions that are happening. Those are stored in the video, so if somebody watches the recording, they're also going to have access to those closed caption files, right? Well,
you bet. Yeah.
Okay.
They get automatically uploaded. Once the video is uploaded to stream, those closed captions become attached to that video and become searchable. So you can look for a particular keyword and get the timestamp and then ultimately a link to that timestamp. So the auto transcriptions are connected to the video and it lives in stream and it all happens on the back end. Though, of course, you can still search within the UI within Yammer, but it's pulling from stream on the back end.
Okay, awesome. And the second question, will there be any kind of IT security options around the video uploading? Because the comment in the chat is that uploading mobile videos would drive corp HR and corp security nuts without any possible policies in place to block it. Is there anything coming for that as well?
That's a cool governance question.
Nothing that's planned right now. The way that we look at it, at least currently, and I'm sure it's something that we'll be investigating, is that there's nothing preventing an employee currently within Yammer or within Stream or within Teams from uploading a video from their camera roll. For instance, recording a video on your mobile device and just sharing it. This is a kind of similar workflow. It's just embedded into the UI.
Okay.
So we're not putting those type of controls in place right now because there would be such an easy workaround. But it's definitely something if we hear a lot of asks for it, then it's something we can consider and take a look at doing.
Actually, I think with Teams, and Martina, correct me if I'm wrong, since I know you're a master of those things, but with Teams now, you can actually turn on channel moderation on certain channels. So members would need to get an approval before posting in a channel, right? Or am I completely in the dark?
Yes, that is possible. And I just want to highlight what, because the question is completely, it's a governance question. And what I do with my customers, because very often users or customers are afraid what people are posting in a Yammer chat, in a Teams chat, wherever. And what I see is if you have very clear guidelines and the good governance, like terms of use and what to do there, then you also don't get that kind of improper stuff people are anxious about. And I think you can control that. And what I saw about, because we had a lot of discussions around, is Yammer the right tool? Because you can post everything and there's no control behind that. There is a control behind that. And what I learned from my customers, we do not get a lot of that stuff posted in Yammer. And it could be a video, it could be a chat, it could be attachment. If you're afraid of that, it's kind of an information control question as well.
And I think this is something that's been, I wouldn't call it an issue, but a subject since SharePoint 2007 MySites. How do we block people from posting stuff without going through an approval? It seems it's always been a topic of conversation, which is funny. And I think you're always going to have, in a way, it's always the balance of trusting that your users will not post any dumb stuff. They're mature people. I guess that's a big part of the thing. But from a compliance, I think, and I get this a lot, can we add like a list of blocked words in Yammer? Like of words that would trigger a notice or stuff like that. So I'm sorry, Michael, I'm a bit on the team IT pro here. You know me.
Yes.
I'm on the team that likes a lot of the backend options to like, ooh, if it has this words, then do an approval. If not, you're fine. Or I think the more IT options, the better. What do you think, Martina?
Yes, there's already an option about notifications on kind of words, or it could be, for instance, credit card information or anything you are thinking about when you talk about compliance stuff. So you can integrate that already in Yammer.
Okay.
And with the new Yammer, we've actually added a couple more controls to help admins out. We have added a new close conversation option where you can prevent new replies for sensitive topics, or even just if a conversation has kind of ran its course, you can now put an end to that. And of course, the admin can open that conversation back up at any time. And we see people being also excited to use this on the all company feed, where you could block people from continuing to post, and you would be able to ultimately pin a message saying, hey, don't post here. If it's an HR question, go to the HR community and post it there. And then there also we'll be adding the ability to report a post, and that will kind of send it into a quarantine until a community manager looks at it.
Oh, that's awesome. A quick question back on the videos. When you upload a video through the mobile app, like you mentioned from the job site or anything, will it automatically create a transcript for it as well?
Not currently. If you do it through Yammer, it won't automatically create a transcript at this time. It will save it locally to your device, and we're looking at options on how to get that video to upload automatically into Stream, which would then apply that kind of auto captioning. But V1, when it's released, it won't create captions for you automatically.
Okay, but it's definitely something you guys are thinking at for the future, for accessibility, kind of.
You bet.
Okay, awesome. Let me see if I missed anything from the chat. Some funny comments there that the Twitch chat automatically blocked. Oh, gamification. That's been a common one across the 365 stack, to be honest. Before I go to Michael, Martina, do you think that gamification helps adoption in the enterprise? A really general topic, I know, but do you think gamification helps?
Yes, it helps a lot because people also want to have kind of fun at work. So gamification is always a good strategy if you introduce a new tool, that you have some kind of gamification in there. So we built a solution which is kind of a knowledge-based battle, so people can play against each other and share their knowledge about the company or any topic the customer wants us to implement there. And people really like that because it's fun, it's done within Yammer, they learn about each other, they learn about the questions they have there, and you can give an incentive afterwards, so for the most points someone gets and so on. So really people like that, as well as GIFs, because you have a toggle in Yammer to turn GIFs off, and also emoticons. So people really like that kind of bringing emotion into their working tools as well.
Awesome. And kind of from an intranet perspective, I see the same thing. I think as much as we all hate to admit it a bit, we're all a bit competitive. So kind of adding those kind of games and things like that where you can win stuff, it's always fun. People love it. Now from a product perspective, Michael, is it something that you guys are looking at right now, or is it somewhere on the roadmap for the future, bringing gamification in Yammer or Microsoft 365 stack?
It's always something that we're investigating. There's a number of third-party apps that you can install within Yammer that focus primarily on gamification to make participating in the community a little bit more fun. I definitely also see a use case for the new Q&A feature where you can get answers that are marked the best answer, and then it would be, the onus would kind of be put on to a community manager to tally those up and reward people who are getting a lot of best answers across the community. We are working on bringing that feature into analytics as well, so that you'd be able to export the number of best answers and get a clear view. But a related feature that we announced just a couple months back and that will be landing with the new Yammer is the ability to announce praise, where it's not a direct tally of a gamification feature. You'd be able to announce and then pin praise, and then of course you see that expanded scene count, so that everyone knows that this person went above and beyond in some capacity, and it still makes it just a more enjoyable experience and reaffirms that participation in the network.
That was a feature that was there for a while in Yammer, right? Or did I? Okay.
Correct. But what we announced was the ability to set that praise as an announcement, so it sends a push
Okay.
notification.
Okay, so this way, like it pushes it to everybody. You're the front center stage when you get praised as an announcement.
You bet. And then, of course, now you can see that praise even come through in your email.
Cool. That's awesome. And I think getting that information into analytics, well, especially the Q&A, I didn't think about that, but that's really a good point of getting all of the questions from Q&A, even what the questions were, adding some of this magic AI that you guys are doing in the back to be able to say, hey, lots of people have questions about vacation policies. Maybe you shouldn't hide it somewhere deep in SharePoint. Kind of, that would be really
Yep.
cool in the future.
Yeah, and we have currently bots that you can use that you can connect to a SharePoint list using Power Automate to auto answer common questions. And we in the past have shown demos where we have one set up for HR bot so that you can ask a question in a community about what vacation days you have off. Here in the States, we just had this Monday off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Not all organizations get that off. You'd be able to submit that question into an HR bot community and have that bot actually generate that response for you. So using AI to help lift the burden off of community managers and, of course, all of the departments, which you could create a community of practice for.
That's awesome. Is that live already, or is that coming all with the new Yammer?
That is already live. We have some documentation on the Microsoft Tech community on how you can build that yourself. And really, we see huge use cases for IT departments, for HR departments, any scenario where you get a lot of the same repetition or the same tedious emails coming in. You can have that pull using natural language processing and AI from the Microsoft suite and have it start auto responding to those questions.
That's awesome. I see we have about let's say 5 minutes left, just so we make sure we finish on time. Uh, when are we going to be able to get our hands on all of this?
That is the big question that everyone wants to know. If you go to aka.ms/thenewYammer, you can sign up your organization for early access to the new Yammer. Right now, it is in private preview with a select number of customers. We'll be expanding that private preview to our first wave of preview over the next month and a half or so. Beyond that, it will start hitting targeted release, or what was formerly known as first release customers in the spring timeline, or spring up here in the northern hemisphere, so March, April timeline. And we are hoping that the new Yammer will GA or become generally available just around the time of when SharePoint Conference 2020 is, so an end of May time span. And it's going to be a little bit of a tiered rollout. So we'll initially have a slider that allows organizations to opt in and users within those organizations to opt in to the new Yammer. Then next step, they'll be able to opt out of the new Yammer. So they'll land in the new Yammer by default, and they'll be able to toggle back in case there's experiences or capabilities that they want to ensure they have or if they feel more comfortable using. And then lastly, later end of this calendar year, we'll remove that slider and the new Yammer will become Yammer. And there will be very, very little to do from an IT perspective to do that. There won't be a migration. This will happen kind of on the back end. It will just be up to the IT admins on whether or not to have that slider as default or as opt-in.
Awesome. And I guess when you roll all of that in a way back and out, you're going to have a lot of supporting material as well. I guess training with the new learning pathways, adoption stuff and everything, all of that will be rolled out at the same time.
You bet. And actually, I think we're going to jump the gun on it. Starting this January 30th, so next week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time, we'll be hosting a Meet the New Yammer webinar where you'll get in-depth demos, a truly full feature-rich look at what's new. It addressed, I think it was 12 of the top 25 user voice asks were solved with the new Yammer. And there'll be a big opportunity with the product team, the engineering team that built Yammer, for Q&A, for 20 minutes or so, and we'll be running these webinars once a month. We'll also be recording them, so if you miss it, keep an eye on the tech community. You can follow the Yammer blog on Microsoft Tech Community or follow Yammer on Twitter. We'll be promoting these a ton. We very much encourage that if you're trying to prepare your organization for the new Yammer, join the Meet the New Yammer webinar, and we'll be sharing the technical documentation along with a lot of these kind of tiered announcements like e-discovery and native mode that will go out tomorrow. If you're following the blog, we'll be kind of promoting these almost every week. We have something new. This is the Year of Yammer.
The Year of Yammer. Awesome. Thank you, Michael. I shared the link in the chat for everybody watching to the tech community. So go on there, sign up. I think Michael said they're going to be using Teams live events for it. So if you've never seen it live as an external user, that will be your chance to see it. So that can be really cool as well. And for the last few minutes, let me just ask Martina, in 1 minute, what would be the best tip you would give to an organization that is just starting to use Yammer?
The best advice would be start with a small group and try to find your champions, and also start with a good management support and build your communities in Yammer, because this is where the right place to do all the community communications and organizational-wide communications.
Awesome. Thank you. And as we're wrapping up, don't forget to follow the SharePoint TV channel on Twitch by clicking the heart icon on the top right of your screen there. And let's actually take a look at a quick video from our producing sponsor, SharePoint Conference.
SharePoint Conference is special because here you have a large number of people directly associated with the SharePoint from Microsoft, all converging with the community to collaborate on what's going on.
People meet technology, and we can learn all about what's happening in the future of SharePoint and what's happened in the past, and learn from each other and teach each other, and also engage with each other.
All the attendees get a lot of people from Microsoft being here, answering questions. You can set up meetings with them, and you have also a lot of MVPs here, and those MVPs love to share their experience and their real life scenarios with others in the community.
It covers all the aspects of the latest and greatest from the SharePoint community, as well as a great time to interact with the SharePoint product group. So you get real face time with the people that build the products we use.
Everything is focused around you being successful in your organization with the tools.
For anyone that's been on the circuit a bit, that's involved with conferences, knows that there's something deeper for us than just the technology.
I think the one thing that anybody who's considering coming to the SharePoint conference should know is that they shouldn't sit on their hands. They shouldn't keep to themselves.
We have so many Microsofties here, and you can connect with them, you can connect with all the other attendees and with the speakers, and we are most willingly to give away all our knowledge and all our samples we have.
You get the opportunity to discuss your projects, soundboard with world experts that have done this sort of project.
In November 2012, I came to Vegas for the first time to SharePoint conference. I walked around here in awe. I had this permanent goosebumps. It was so exciting to see people on stage that I've been following on social media, that I just put on pedestals. I mean, these people that I adored, that was helping me every day solve problems, and the speakers. And I met so many of the speakers, and I made so many contacts as an attendee at this conference. And that's 7 years ago. And what an unbelievably exciting experience to be here and to have delivered a workshop and been involved in sessions and know all the speakers and know the communities.
I'm excited about this because this is the one time in the year where everybody who's anybody that knows and works with SharePoint, including the Microsoft teams and the other vendors, come together for the same thing.
So now let's talk about next week's show. Next week, so the 29th of January, Wednesday still, same time as always, we're going to have two awesome MVPs, Mark Anderson and David Warner, and we're going to talk about all things SharePoint dev. So we're going to talk about the SharePoint framework, as well as a lot of maybe citizen developer stuff and how you can do a lot of great things with SharePoint and Microsoft 365, either with live dev or full-on SharePoint framework dev. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Remember to follow SharePoint TV on Twitch by clicking the heart icon on the top right of your screen. And I really hope to see you next week.
you